Are we ready to proceed? Okay. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial tribunal appointed by City Council to make decisions on certain types of applications under the Planning Act. My name is John Blatherwick, and I'll be chairing this hearing today. With me are my fellow members, Mr. Stan Wilder and Ms. Heather McLean. Please take note that this video conference is being live streamed on YouTube. The video will be archived along with today's agenda on the city's website. Before we begin, we have a few items to outline for your information. While the issues surrounding development in the city are broad, our mandate is quite limited. The committee cannot consider aspects of the proposal that are not related to the required variances, noise, pollution, property maintenance, property values, prosecution for illegal construction, personal comments regarding neighbors, agents, or applicants, additional variances without proper public notice. If there is an identified need for an additional variance or variances, including an increase in the extent of the relief required, a recirculation of the application is required. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. We don't have confirmation of that, so I will have to administer the oath solemn declaration to all agents and or applicants before we can hear their application today. Regarding quorum, if this is lost during the hearing due to technical difficulties, the proceedings will be paused to allow time for the resolution of the issue. Failing the ability to reinstate quorum, hearing of the items remaining will resume at the outset of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the committee. In terms of the hearing process, listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Note that the committee members have reviewed the application materials prior to this hearing and any written submissions received in support or in opposition. In addition, the committee will hear today oral submissions from any interested parties as part of our proceedings. The committee may ask for a brief presentation by the applicant, followed by questions from members where clarification may be needed. The public submissions portion of the hearing will then begin, and any interested parties will be invited to make their submissions to the committee. Panel members may then ask follow-up questions where added clarification may be required. When you are called upon to provide your comments, we will ask you to do the following. Start with stating your name and municipal address. For the record, we may ask you to spell your name. Then begin your submission by addressing your comments to the panel members. You may ask questions, but please direct them only to the chair. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the committee's discretion. Once all interested parties have had an opportunity to address the panel, the public submissions portion of the hearing will then be closed. The committee will then make an oral decision to either grant or deny the application. The committee may also choose to reserve its decision. In such case, the panel will deliberate further on the evidence presented immediately following adjournment of the public hearing. In either case, the committee will send within 10 days of its decision and to all parties, and to those that have requested it, a written decision that sets out the reasons for the decisions of the Committee of Adjustment may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a fee within 20 days of the date of the written decision. Only the applicant, the City of Ottawa, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, a specified person, and certain public bodies that have an interest in the matter may appeal the decision. Specified persons and certain public bodies include public utilities, but do not include an individual or community association. Before we begin, are there any declarations of interest for any of the members regarding this panel, panel 2, or panel 3 today? I will have to declare an interest in an item that's before panel 2, 424 Churchill Avenue. This is an application for a property in my neighborhood, and I have always on this committee reserved or recused myself from any applications, regardless of the panel it's on, that are within my neighborhood. So I'll declare an interest in that. We have no minutes to confirm, so we'll move right to the adjournment requests, and we have a number of those today. The first adjournment request we have before us is item number 1, 36 Brighton. And the agent for the applicant is Benjamin Williams. Is he there?
I am here. Hi, I'm Benjamin Williams, 36 Brighton Avenue.
Yes. We note that there's an adjournment request because the signs were not posted.
Yes, my sincere apologies for that. There's some confusion between myself and the coordinator. I had misunderstood that the attachment was to be posted. And so I put the lovely letter up in my window for the last 2 weeks, which coincided with my neighbors also receiving them. And we all congratulated ourselves on following the process, and only to discover that I hadn't gone and picked up the posting that required to go in front of the house. So I apologize for that.
You now have a nice clean sign.
I don't yet. I was told I had to wait to the confirmation of adjournment before I could and the payment of the adjournment fee.
We're going to have to recirculate, and the best thing to do is to probably recirculate this sine die, although it's probably going to be back on the agenda very, very shortly.
I hope so. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It happens. For the members, all in favor of adjourning this application, sine die. Okay. Yeah, the adjournments, the application's adjourned. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Next application that's up for adjournment are items number 4 and 5 on the agenda. 106 Prince Albert. And the agent for this application is Mr. Latrail. Is he there?
Hi there. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Apparently there's a need for an adjournment on this because there has been an additional rear yard variance that's been identified.
That's correct. The planner on the file identified that a week before the hearing, so we weren't able to make changes to the plan. So we will request an adjournment, and we added a minor variance for the rear yard.
Okay. Most of your paperwork's undertaken already?
Everything's been paid for, as well as submitted on the day we learned of this, in order to get back on the as quickly as possible. If that works.
I think we can accommodate you on the 3rd of May hearing.
Thank you. That'd be appreciated.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what we shall do is adjourn this item until the well, first of all, any members have any questions on this application? Adjournment? No. All in favor of adjourning to the 3rd of May? Okay. All right. We'll adjourn this until the 3rd of May. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye. And the final application that's up for adjournment is item 7 on the agenda. And this is an application at 243 Carruthers Avenue. And Paloni is Miss Jasmine Paloni is the agent for the applicant. Pardon me if I've not pronounced your name correctly.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, did I get that right? No?
Paloni.
Okay. With a last name like mine, you can understand that I'm a little sensitive. Okay, so we have an adjournment request from you folks for additional time to consult with the community, I believe.
Yeah, our meeting is set for April 11th, so we should be ready for the next available hearing, which sounds like it would be May 3rd.
Actually, April 19th is our next hearing.
If there's room on the 19th, I believe we'd be ready for that time as well.
Okay. I understand that the Hintonburg Community Association also wants to speak to the motion for adjournment. Are they there? Possibly not. We know they're in support of the adjournment. Mr. Wilder, you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Poloni, there's also concern, I believe, from neighbors on this application. I would suggest that you might want to meet not only with the community association, but you might also want to be made aware of concerns by the neighbors. And I suggest you meet with the budding property owners as well.
Yeah, we did receive a letter from the neighbors and we've reached out to them. We plan on addressing all of their concerns in the community association meeting, and if they're unable to attend that, to meet with them one-on-one.
Fine, thank you very much.
Oh, Ms. Hode from Hintonburg is here. Ms. Hode.
Yes, Linda Hode, 1000 Wellington Street West, at 509. And yes, it is our practice to invite neighbors to our zoning committee meeting when we ask for a presentation from the applicant. So I think we'll be able to accommodate neighbors. The notice is being prepared as we speak. I just wanted to be sure that we had an adjournment. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So with that, then what we'll do is members in favor of adjourning this application until the 19th of April. So they can, the applicant can confirm or can further consult with the neighbors. Okay. Well, we'll see you on the 19th of April.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Application's adjourned. All right. So. With me for a second, ladies and gentlemen. We'll now move on to the regular items on the agenda. Need 2 seconds because I've lost my oath or solemn declaration. I'll be right back. And yes, I don't have this memorized. If anybody's questioning. All right. So the first item on the regular agenda is item 2 on the agenda. And this is an application at 93 Fifth Avenue. And it's to permit an increased walkway width to regularize the existing front walkway. And the agent on this application is Mr. Freeman. Is he there?
Good afternoon, Chair and members. I'm here.
Okay. Before we begin, Mr. Freeman, do you solemnly swear or write it to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I swear.
Okay. I note we note from the revised planning report that the agent has submitted revised plans. The existing parking spot was illegally established. Parking will be demolished and the applicant will reinstate front yard soft landscaping. So the department's request for adjournment has been withdrawn.
That's understood.
Okay. And the department is now satisfied with this application. I believe it's Miss Linker who is the planner on this. Mr. Elkady.
Yes.
How are you?
Good, thank you. So yes, Mr. Chair, we don't have any concerns about it as long as they will keep their promise with providing the softscaping and removing the parking.
Okay. So if we tied this application, approval of this application to the site plan that was provided, that would be sufficient to ensure that the parking could not be reestablished at this location?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. So, so very briefly, Mr. Freeman, your applicant, your request.
Yeah, sure. I can run through our request, and I have some slides as well.
You know, we don't really need all the slides. We just
Okay.
need you to very briefly explain what you want.
Yep, no, that's understood. It was flagged. The walkway was constructed slightly wider than what is permitted under section 139 of the zoning bylaw, specifically section 139(4)(ci), which establishes a maximum width of a walkway of 1.2 meters.
Okay.
We're requesting that a variance for the a walkway that is 1.315 meters.
Okay.
Then the front yard parking was flagged by city staff, and our client has committed to landscape the front yard as shown in the site plan.
Okay. And you've heard from the planning department is if we tie this, it should be approved, we tie this approval to the site plan, and that will ensure that the parking cannot be reestablished at this location, either in the front or the side yard.
We understand that.
Okay. I have one question, Mr. Freeman. There's an order to comply dated 2019 on this for construction that without the benefit of a building permit. Has that order been complied and been met?
Yes, they have applied for building permits, and this is how this was flagged to us, or flagged to the city.
So that issue will be resolved with our approval.
Yes, correct, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from the members regarding this application? Comments? All right. And we've heard from the department that they're now in support of the application because of the change. So if we'll tie the approval of this application to the site plan provided. All in favor of
Mr. Chair, I believe there's a speaker.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Thank you, Mr. Belmar. Oh, yes. Sorry. 33 Fifth Avenue, Mr. Ramazani. Sorry about that. Please proceed.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you very much, your vice chair and committee members. So this is the first time I think I understand that the parking for 2 cars will be eliminated. That means there won't be any cars parking on that location on public property.
No, it's going to be soft landscaping in front of the house.
Okay, because that was my concern, that this would not happen, because it would have been the only house on the block where there was no landscaping, there were only parking. So with that, my issue, I think, is resolved.
Yeah, well, the soft landscaping is going to be reinstated, and Mr. Freeman has indicated that won't allow for parking, and the planning department is happy with the site plan, so we'll tie it to the site plan, and that should solve the problem.
Okay, and just finally, this was a case where the property went under, as you noticed, you mentioned, went under major renovation without permit, and it was with the intervention of Councillor Sean Menard that actually the first inspector was denied access to the property, the second one was let in, and subsequently I learned that the new permit didn't have to do with the front of the house, it had to do with the back of the house, deck in the back, and that's where I was dropped out of the radar. So it's been this property suffers from a series of misfires, lack of permit, doing things without proper permit, And starting with the actually renovation, which over a year later, based on neighbors' complaint, the bylaw was involved, and I think bylaw was not doing a very good job. So I hope that the committee has enough guarantee that this will not happen, and things will be done in accordance with the bylaws.
Well, what's before us today is the walkway at the front and reestablishing the soft landscaping. And you've heard from Mr. Freeman that with our approval, the orders to comply will be cleared after building permits are issued. So if you still have concerns, I'd suggest taking that up with Building Code Services, because that is not what is before this committee today.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, with that, all in favor of approving this application? The application is approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Okay. Next application before us this afternoon is an application at 350A Winston Avenue. And this is a permission application to permit a single-story rear yard addition to the existing townhouse dwelling. We note that the planning department has no concerns with the application. However, we also note that there is a letter provided to us by an area resident in which he states a number of his concerns regarding this property. And I wonder if Ms. Linker, if you could confirm for us that this is actually a non-complying or a non-conforming use, and that permission is the way to go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding the construction timeline and relevant zoning, a minor variance application was applied for in July 1991 to accommodate 2 additional units to an existing single-family dwelling, thereby resulting in a 3-unit row dwelling. And it's my understanding that the subject site was previously zoned R5 0.5 at this time, where the townhouse use was permitted. And in September 1993, there was a building permit to accommodate this development. And in 1994, there was the severance of the property. In 2008, the city rezones the property to R3L, which prohibited townhouse uses, resulting in the subject site now containing a legal non-conforming use. So sometime between 2008 and now, the zoning of the subject site was changed to the current R3S zone, where the townhouse use is still prohibited. And the Committee of Adjustment is authorized to consider applications for permission per the Planning Act. So when considering these applications for permission to expand or enlarge a legal non-conforming use, staff have considered issues such as desirability for development of the property and impact on the surrounding area. And through our review, staff have no concerns with the permission application to accommodate the rear addition for the subject site.
Okay. So, so you've addressed the local residents' concerns regarding this application. The agent for this this item is Mr. Dubo, and he's on screen. Before we begin, sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing, including visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, if you could very briefly explain what you're seeking permission for.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and panel members. So, pardon me, I'm getting some power issues here. So our subject, I do have a presentation. I'm not sure if it's on screen or not. It's just some very basic slides that just cover the, just some details about the subject property, the application scope, a bit of speaking to the desirability and impact, as well as just the application. So if I may go to
so we don't have to hear about things from the application history again.
That's that's fair. That'll be one less slide.
Yep, just very briefly.
All right, thank you. So so for the subject property, it is the middlemost lot of a 4-part parcel, part 3 of lot 12. The building type, as we know, is a 3-door townhouse dwelling under the R3S zoning. is Area A of Schedule 342, as well as considered a general urban area under Schedule B. The physical lot characteristics are, it is 136.9 square meters with a frontage of 4.75 square meters, a narrow 5.45 meter width with a depth of 26.64 square meters. So long and narrow. And if I may go to the next slide. So the application scope is, as you guys are aware, the application seeks to permit the expansion of a legal non-conforming use via the a single-story rear addition, currently not permitted under the R3S subzone. The size of the addition is 4.27 meters wide by 4.9 meters deep via the single-story stick-built addition. Essentially, it's to match the building's width on our side only. It's to bear on helical pile foundations to minimize intrusiveness to the soil, as well as minimal impact on the trees. The very next slide speaks to the desirability and impact. This is the good stuff. So we have 4 main points that I'd like to bring to your attention. By virtue of the mature sort of characteristics of Westboro, my hometown, I love it a lot, is that there is no established rear yard pattern. So there's no real deviations to speak of for this articulation of form. You'll see that in point 2 at the bottom left, the new wall will act as a screening element between the 2 decks, which both the homeowner and his neighbor at 350B are just simply ecstatic about, because currently they both come out to the rear decks and they get to wave to each other because it's at the same level, the same everything. So both of them are happy with the fact that there will be some variation in that extrusion, so that there is privacy. I should also mention that all maintenance activities will be conducted on our side of the property line. That's been established, so we will ensure that there will be no impact to the neighbor in that regard. Point 3 at the top right is that there will be no impact to any trees. There is one tree of note there in the picture. It's a bit of a twirly one. I did work with Nancy Young back in February to establish that it will not be impacted by the helical pile installations. In fact, really, the addition will be borrowing the existing, what the neighbors call the mound, which is that timber retaining wall structure, which will then be converted to our single-story addition at the back. So really, there is no increase of size, which is great in that regard. And finally, my last point at the bottom right is that the drainage will be self-contained. So in that regard, it took me a little bit of thinking, but we'll be doing a facsimile gravel stop detail, which is often employed in built-up roofing systems for commercial construction. So effectively, we would install lips on either side of the roof line because it is at the 0 meter. We couldn't really have an eave on that property. So basically, it'll be a structural cleat, which effectively lips the water and channels it to the low point of the shed roof, to which then it'll be directed northward to the low point of our gutter and then diverted onto our property. It is understood that we'll have to do some civil and grading plans for the purposes of permitting, so I will definitely be happy to investigate that further. And just my final point before I talk too much is the wall that adjoins both 350A and 350B will be designed in accordance and/or to exceed the OBC 910-914-3, which speaks to the separation of residential suites, which calls for a 1-hour fire resistance rating. And then my next slide was the application history of the site, but I believe the committee is aware, so that's very appreciated. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you very much for your time.
This will remain a single-family dwelling?
It will.
Okay. All right, any questions from the other members of the panel regarding this permission application? Okay. I think what we'll do is we will, if we approve, we will tie to plans filed. There don't seem to be any conditions that are before us. Certainly no variances. This is simply a permission application. All in favor of the permission application for 350A Winston Avenue? Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Have a wonderful week.
Good.
Take care.
Okay. Next application before us is item 6 on the agenda, 91 Concord Street. And this application seeks to subdivide the property into 2 separate parcels of land for the construction of a 2-story duplex on the vacant lot. The existing 3-story duplex will remain. We note that the planning department has no concerns, and they have commented that the subject site is compliant. for the zoning bylaw for lot size and area. And so the agent for the applicant, Ms. Collini again. And
Yes, hello.
Before we begin, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I swear.
Okay, so very briefly, please explain your request.
So we are submitting a primary and secondary consent application for 91 Concord Street North on behalf of the property owners. It's zoned R4UD in the zoning bylaw. It's currently a corner lot, and we are creating the an interior lot. The corner lot will contain or maintain the existing building. And the interior lot will be the site for a future development. The purpose of the severance is to allow the property owner to construct that dwelling on the severed portion, the interior lot, and maintain the existing. And as you said, both lots are compliant on lot width and lot area.
What does the applicant intend to construct on the severed lot?
The intent is to construct a duplex. I know we didn't submit a site plan for that concept. We don't have, the plans are in motion at the moment, so we don't have a finalized version to submit to the committee at this point.
Okay. And regarding section 5124, the criteria for consent applications, under adequacy of city services, has it been determined that the demand on the for water supply, for the demand on the increased demand on the sanitary sewer system and the stormwater runoff is all going to be non-problematic?
Yes, we have adequate provisions for city services, and our understanding is when that development does go to building permit, we'll have grading and drainage and civil plans to go along with that.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the members regarding this application? We note that there are a fairly extensive list of requested conditions. We also note that Hydro Ottawa has its standard comment regarding covering electrical expenses costs for any addition. The conditions are independent services for both severed and retained parcels, grading and drainage plan, a 3.3 meter corner site triangle for that's at the corner where the existing building is, a noise level agreement on retained lands on part 1, and I believe that's because of the proximity to the Queensway.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. A tree planting plan, private approach permit to remove the existing driveway along Concord, a private approach permit to legalize the driveway along Havelock, and an encroachment agreement regarding the front steps encroaching on the city boulevard.
Yes, that's okay. Correct.
And is that the full extent of the conditions, as you're aware?
In the revised report from the city, yes, that's the extent to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure we got them all. All right. So no questions from the members regarding this application. So on the matter of subdividing this property into 2 separate parcels of land for the construction of a 2-story duplex on a vacant lot, all in favor of this consent application? Okay. Your application is approved.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The application we'll deal with this afternoon is item number 8 on the agenda. This is coming back from it was adjourned on the 15th of March. Give residents additional time to post the application. And this is an application to permit a reduced interior yard and front-facing attached and allow front-facing attached garages for a semi-detached dwelling with secondary dwelling units. And the agent for the applicant is Mr. Lavoie. Is he there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Before we begin, Mr. Lavoie, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I swear.
All right. All right, Mr. Lavoie, if you would, I note that that there have been revised documents provided on the 30th of March, a revised site plan. The changes were, you were adding new trees as shown. And you also have elevations, I believe, showing a step deck relocated and one window relocated from the interior yard to the front yard.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
The planning department has concerns with this application, and Ms. Linker is there. Would you please articulate the department's concerns?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff have raised concerns with the proposed front-facing attached garages, as this design is not consistent with the streetscape dominant characteristics. The streetscape character analysis is an objective count of building elements on the site, and they're intended to encourage development to maintain the character with the existing homes on the street. So staff would encourage a design which is consistent with the dominant streetscape character, such as a driveway leading to the parking in the interior side yard or to a detached garage in the rear. Staff also have concerns with the proposed reduction to the required interior yard area due to the reduced soil volume on site, resulting in the lost opportunity to provide large canopy trees. I'll defer to my colleague, Ms. Young, though, to further explain the forestry concerns, but I would note that a redesign, perhaps one with that does align with the streetscape character analysis dominant characteristics, could provide a larger interior yard to accommodate trees.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Linker. Ms. Young, regarding the regarding forestry's position.
Oops. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our concerns are that the purpose of the interior lot, or rear lot, is it's meant to be for soft landscaping and also for tree planting where space is available. I do recognize that a revised tree planting plan was provided by the applicant on this one, but it proposes 2 large trees in the very small backyard, which would be less than 2 meters from the building, which, I mean, if they want to plant a tree that close to the building, they can, but it is not something that we would normally recommend at that distance. So our concern is just that reduction in that interior lot area. It's really removing appropriate space for tree planting.
How well would a tree do planting or being planted in that tight spot, Ms. Young?
Where they're proposed right now?
Mm-hmm.
It would be very tight. I mean, I think this is a 2-story building, so the growth of the trees would be hindered a bit. They would have to be tall and narrow. They might do well, but it all depends on, you know, what the applicant wants to use their rear yard for. And in this case, that whole rear yard is pretty much taken over with the trees proposed where they are.
And I'm assuming that there's somewhere down the road there's potential damage to the foundation of the dwelling because of tree roots, possibly.
Possibly. I mean, yeah.
Having been through that myself.
Yes, and actually the other thing that I forgot to mention, on this site, the reason why we're pushing for this change in the rear yard is because everything in the front yard is encumbered by hydro. So any planting proposed in the front yard it has to be small trees. There's no way to put anything larger there. So our concern is just the overall loss of canopy cover, because these small trees will never actually contribute to canopy cover.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Young. All right, Mr. Lavoie, you've heard from the forestry people, you've heard from the planning department. We'd like to hear your presentation regarding this application, so please proceed.
Okay, I'll start, and Ms. Paoloni will continue the presentation because we work both on that project.
Okay.
So, yeah, it is a corner lot, an existing house. Right now, the existing house is at 2.3 meter from the property line. So we're pushing a little bit further at 2.9. And we're proposing a semi-detached a 2-story, 3-bedroom, and some secondary unit in the basement, about 1 bedroom, 667 square feet. So we have the garage is facing West Hill, and the front is facing Churchill for the first semi-detached, the entrance. So Ms. Paoloni will continue the presentation.
All right, thank you, Luke. If you could switch to slide number 4, please. So this is just to show the location of the variances we're requesting. Churchill on the right side of the image and West Hill at the bottom. Yes, the 2 variances identified are the interior yard area, highlighted in red, and the attached garages in blue. Next slide, please. This is just the front elevation showing one of the primary entrances off of Churchill, with the West Hill frontage shown on the left and the rear yard in question on the right. Next slide, please. And this is the West Hill elevation showing the location of the 2 attached garages, the second primary entrance, which is to the left, and one of the secondary dwelling unit entrances, which is on the right. Next slide, please. So this is the rear elevation showing the secondary dwelling unit entrance, with the rear yard on the left and West Hill on the right. Next slide, please. And this is the rear elevation. Next slide, please. So these are site photos showing the existing conditions on Churchill and West Hill frontages. And if you go to the next slide, there's another site photo of a newly developed property at 314 West Hill, which is within the streetscape character analysis for the subject property, which is in the process of being severed. It was heard in October of 2022. And as you can see, it is proposed with 2 attached garages. For the purposes of our streetscape character analysis, though, it was considered as 1 lot. So that would mean 1 for the count of attached garages. Next slide, please. Just to go over the summary of the variances, for the interior yard area, we are required to provide 30% of the lot width for 1 dimension and the abutting rear yard setback requirement for the other dimension. So that would be a 4.53 meter by 8.88 meter. We are providing 2.92 meter by 8.88. So we are short just over 10% for that width. For the attached garages, we are requesting 2 variances, essentially for the same thing, just to permit the construction or the inclusion of the attached garages. Next slide, please. You can go to the next slide. Perfect, thank you. Just to go a little bit more in depth about the attached garages. When we first conducted the streetscape character analysis, we took the full 21 properties into consideration on the West Hill frontage, which gave us a result of 14 in favor and 7 against for the inclusion of the garage. And then city staff advised that since it is a corner lot and West Hill is the secondary frontage, we are only permitted to take 11 properties into consideration. So this reduced our count to 5 in favor and 6 against, with consideration for that 1 property marked with a star, the 314 West Hill, which once severed and approved and completely severed will be considered as 2 properties. So if you're looking at that as 2 properties, then we would have 6 in favor and 5 against, which would eliminate the need for the variance. Next slide, please. And as for the interior yard area, we understand that the purpose of the area is to provide usable rear yard space and opportunities for tree planting. And we understand that city staff have raised concerns about the variance in regards to the amount of usable space and soil volumes for tree planting and the amount of space for large canopy trees. And I'd like to note, if we had both frontages on the same frontage, so if both primary entrances were located on West Hill, then the requirement for an interior yard area is no longer a requirement, and it's only due to having primary entrances on both streets that this was triggered. And so since the adjournment from March 15th, we've discussed opportunities with tree planting with city staff and the city forester at length. These discussions resulted in 2 additional trees in that interior, instead of the interior yard area, and 2 additional trees in the corner side yard, as well as the original 3 proposed trees in the city right of way from the previous submission. We also like to note that the trees number 6 and 7 in the interior yard are also to deal with the privacy concerns for the neighbor to the south. That was mentioned in the previous hearing. They had concerns about privacy, so we've worked with them to alleviate some of their concerns, which includes adding those trees for planting. Thank you. That is the presentation.
Is there any consideration to creating a solid wall fence around the side and rear of the property as for further
We have a 1.8 meter fence, and we want to provide 2 feet more in the area of the deck for the neighbor higher. So, but we could put the fence 2.4 meter if we want all the way. We have no problem with that.
Actually, you can put the fence 2.1 meters, and that's the limit of the bylaw.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, but we could put it 2.1 the maximum, and all the way if you want. That's
And this
no
would be
that's not an issue.
And this would be a sandwich board fence, Mr. Lavoie, boards tight like this.
Yes, privacy.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder if city planning staff could just explain the yard requirements for this corner lot. So am I understanding that variance A that reduces the interior yard only applies to the West Hill unit?
Yeah.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So the interior yard area, by the way that I understand it, has to be applied looking at it as one lot as a whole. And where there are frontages on both main streets, then that would be at the corner as one lot as a whole. So that would only apply in that bottom corner, just one of those interior yard areas. And if both frontages were on West Hill, the rear yard setback would change from a required 1.2 meters to a required 4 meters. So it'd be a larger rear yard setback if both frontages were on West Hill.
So if it's one lot, the front yard is Churchill. There's a corner side yard along West Hill. I guess there's no rear yard requirement per se then on this corner lot.
So that's the purpose, I guess, of the interior yard area is to allow for a rear yard in the corner of that lot, which adds to additional privacy concerns that could occur from only providing a required 1.2 meter rear yard setback. However, if they did not require the interior yard area, there would be a 4 meter rear yard setback.
And then the yard next to the property on West Hill, the next property over, that's a side yard?
That's correct.
So the interior yard is to function as what we would normally think of as a rear yard, I guess.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wilder, any questions or comments at this time?
Mr. Lavoie, is parking necessary here?
Jasmine, can you? Is it? Yeah, it is required.
I believe it is one per
One
primary
parking.
unit.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
So to the four tests that we have to consider regarding this application.
If you'd like, I can present those as well.
Yeah, please do.
So in regards to if the variances are minor, we do believe they're minor in nature. The required interior yard width is 4.53, whereas we are providing 2.92, the difference being 1.61 meters. If we were to increase the interior yard width, the secondary dwelling unit entrance, which is located right next to that interior yard area, would have to be relocated either to the front yard, front facade, or the rear facade. So to maintain privacy between the units, we've elected to keep the secondary dwelling unit on that east facade, so that the primary unit has full private access to what we've created for the rear yard. In regards to the attached garages, the construction of the attached garages would be permitted if a full streetscape character analysis of West Hill was allowed. It is only due to the reduced scope of the streetscape character analysis that the garages are not permitted. We believe that the development is appropriate for the lands in question. The principal entryways and porches are located directly on both frontages. The porch, driveways, and front doors are all elements that bring attention to the streetscape. The proposal is retaining 2 mature trees, one fronting on Churchill and one on West Hill, as well as proposing 3 replacement trees in the city right-of-way for a total of 7 trees on site. The ground floor of the development includes 5 windows facing West Hill and 1 window facing Churchill, just to provide more eyes on the street. And the general massing of the development is similar to recent developments on both West Hill and Churchill. In regards to the official plan, we believe it meets the general intent of the official plan, as the site is located in the Westboro neighborhood, which is characterized by small to mid-sized lots and compact low-rise developments. Our site represents an intensification supporting the 15-minute neighborhood because we are proposing 4 units on the site, which is currently housing 1 unit. The site is also located on a minor corridor, which connects 2 main streets, being Carling and Richmond. And just in addition, all private vehicular movement will take place on West Hill, as to not undermine the priority of pedestrians, cyclists, and transit users, and it will occur within the garage as to be screened from the public realm. Lastly, for zoning, we believe the proposal meets the general intent of the zoning, as it is for 2 semi-detached dwellings with secondary dwelling units, which allows for additional housing choices in the area, also considering they are slightly larger units. The development is also consistent with the scale, massing, design, and land use in the surrounding neighborhood, and it's mostly zoning compliant in regards to setbacks, building heights, and projections and such. That concludes that portion.
Thank you very much. Ms. Linker, you had a further comment?
By the way, can I come in sometime?
In a moment, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Linker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, my internet cut out a little bit there, but I think I heard the question about whether or not parking is required for the subject site by Member Wilder. And I just wanted to clarify that my understanding is that the subject site is located within Area X, which means that there's no off-street vehicle parking required for the first 12 units. So it's my understanding that no vehicle parking is necessarily required for the subject site for the bylaw.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Linker. Ms. McLean, you had another comment?
Thank you. I just wondered to Mr. Lavoie, what has been done to mitigate the garage doors facing West Hill? Is there any design features there? We could put up that elevation, the West Hill elevation. So are the garage doors, they're flush with that wall?
I guess it's the northerly wall.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
we-
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, if we reset them, then it's not gonna be a garage anymore. We don't have enough space. We could recess and change the design somehow inside. We could add some roof over the garage to continue.
Can you tell me what the size of each half semi is?
Is 1,700 square feet plus the garage.
What's the garage? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Paulina, you had another comment?
Just if we could go to slide number 11, I'd like to show the location of the garages in relation to the tree planting. So here we see the tree in the far left corner is a mature tree to be maintained or retained. And then we have the two new trees located in the front directly in between those garages. And so our hope is that canopy would shield the parking and the attached garages more or less from the street, as well as the city trees that are located in the right of way.
So while we have that elevation up, could you make your point again about the secondary dwelling access for on that interior rear yard or that interior yard?
Sure, yes. So on the interior lot, parcel A, yeah, so that is the secondary entrance in question. If you could go back to slide 11. Perfect. So it's the entrance is noted with a black triangle on the far left side of the plan. The point that I was trying to make is if we were to conform to the bold red outline, which would be the entirety of the required interior yard, that entrance would have to be relocated either to one of the front facades or to the rear facade outside of that red outline. And so in order to maintain privacy between the secondary dwelling unit and the primary unit, we chose to keep them separated and keep it on the east facade.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the members to the applicants?
Yes.
So, 1 second, sir. Applicants have anything further to add to the Mr. Wilder, please.
Sorry. I guess to both Ms. Poloni and Mr. Lavoie, you've seen the comment from the city where they're encouraging you to design an L-shaped building. I realize this is a bit of a redesign, but that L-shaped building, how would that impact your square footage? Is it going to impact the overall size of the units themselves? Would that? Yeah.
I understand. Yes, I understand the L shape. I try, and it would be 2 bedrooms instead of a three bedroom.
I see. Okay.
Gonna reduce quite a bit, 1,450 square feet, because the design's changing quite a bit. So
thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the members? Nothing else from the applicants? We have several people on the several other people on the speakers list. Mr. Kapoor, 79 Bellevue Drive. I think that you're there, sir. Your comments.
Yes. Actually, I'm brother of the occupant there, and my sister Purushotma Kapoor, she could not come because of the freezing rain. Yeah. But she's attending, but she's not on the panel now because she doesn't know how to get on the panel, how to make her comments. So maybe a few comments I can make on behalf of her. I am not sure whether she agrees with that or not. Anyway, so Mr. Alva and us, we had mitigated all the issues that we had. And out of those, I hear that today there was an objection that those 2 trees which were for our privacy means privacy of looking from inside one house into inside another house through window. To mitigate that issue, those 2 trees, 1 or 2 trees were important. And I think that are being objected to. So I don't know what to say with that. And another comment is that I also heard that 1 tree on Churchill Avenue has to be saved. My sister commented on that one before I had heard it. That is the tree which has fungus disease right now, and it has a potential of spreading, which I think, so I don't know what to say. Maybe that tree should be replaced, or in construction, I don't know if it will be even possible to save it. So that's, so it should not be a big thing that the tree has to be preserved, especially if it is a sick tree. Although it's a new tree can be planted there. So I don't know how to get my sister on the panel. I don't know if she is on the speaker list or not. But
yes, she is. I can see her name on the screen.
Yeah, okay, then that's okay. And then she will take up her own cause. Then she will say whatever she has. But that's all from me.
Okay. And Ms. Kapoor, if you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yes, about the tree, right? Because there's so much fungus on the tree, and all the time branches are falling with everywhere. That's why I'm that. Because they will have to remove or do something about it.
Well, actually, the preservation of that tree is not before this committee.
So that is, but I'm not talking, I just, by the way, I'm not but I'm thinking privacy is my main concern. And that's why they offered to put 2 chairs, because there are windows on my side, and I have a triple window there, and yes, I need more. And whatever it is, my privacy, I'm worried about. And they met us, the owner and the architect. They came and they talked to us, and that's what they suggested, that they will put 2 trees. And because main floor is not a problem, because the fence will take care of it. There is the upstairs windows, and they said that they will try to give us privacy, maybe by glazing the windows or something, so that they cannot glass through. Right? Because my whole living room is in front of those windows. And they did move 1 window, remove 1 window at least. And I hope they can remove another window if they can. And I would, otherwise, as far as if they give us privacy, I will have no concern at all. Because, and I would, secondly, I would like to comment on the garage. Because if they put the garage in the front, already it's so difficult to come out of the driveway to Churchill Avenue. There's so much traffic on Churchill Avenue that you cannot come out or go in. It's so difficult, I know, for me to come out of the driveway. And so those garages should stay on West Hill. At least a quieter street, and they can easily come out and out rather than having some accident. So that's
Thank you.
Question about the cross. I hope they can give me clarity about the windows by glazing them or something, because if the lower portion of the upstairs window is glazed, then I will be protecting my privacy. And if trees can, so you can put such trees that do not have very big roots. That can, there are some trees that can, even the cedar, it does not have very big roots. It doesn't grow into the foundation. So you have to check with the arborist, and they will find some trees that don't have very big roots. So they should be allowed, that kind of trees can be allowed. Because I do want my privacy.
Well, frankly, I think that's the kind of discussion you need to have with the property owner and the developer regarding what gets planted back there. You've already heard from we've already heard from the forestry department that a large shade trees likely not do well in that location because of the please, Ms. Kapoor, because of the tight space. So the tree issue, quite frankly, I think you need to discuss with the developer and the owner. However, Mr. Lavoie, you've heard the applicant or the neighbor's concerns regarding the second floor windows. Exactly what rooms are associated with each of those second floor windows across the back of the 2 units?
Yeah, we already meet with Madame Kapoor and Mr. Kapoor, and they agree with me. We're relocating one bedroom window in the front on Churchill, and the other windows are all a bathroom privacy window, so they are shade, so they don't see. So we have just one window left. It's a kid's bedroom, so I cannot remove that window. We're not going to have it require a kid's bedroom, so that's why we're providing those two trees. It's not gonna be large trees, going to be conifer, so it's going to be medium trees. I talked to the arborist, and she has no issue to put trees there, and we have 3 meters to play with. So she say that it's okay, it's gonna grow up, but if we trim the tree and maintain the tree, could last lots of years and without spreading, like she mentioned. Sorry, I have a hard time to speak. I have a big flu going on, so it's she mentioned to me, the arborist that we hired, that it would be a species of trees that the roots are not big, and that will provide shade and will provide privacy. So it was a question of which tree, and we didn't do the study yet, but she said we'll provide one tree that will help the situation.
And you've agreed to put a solid sandwich board fence across the back property line.
Yes.
It also has to helps the neighbor regarding the enjoyment of their amenity open space.
Exactly.
And there's only one window on the second floor, which is into a bedroom. You don't have a balcony on the second floor. There's no sliding doors.
No.
It's just simply one bedroom window and
One
bathroom
small
windows.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Lavoie. Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wondered if we could see that plan, the site plan showing those the proposed tree locations.
I think, yeah. The other landscape tree from the arborist is better. I think we see it in color, yeah.
Those trees will screen the bedroom window on the second floor.
Yes, it is.
After a little time, because it takes them a while to grow.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Lavoie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else that the applicant would like to provide in the way of information? Okay. All right. I think what we're going to do is we are going to reserve on this application and discuss the evidence that we've heard between us. And our decision will be available within 10 days. So thank you very much for your input, and you'll have, like I said, you'll have I'll have our decision, the committee's decision, 10 days from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that application, I believe this concludes the public portion of this Committee of Adjustment hearing. We will now move to the reserve hearing to discuss the